Hey all you folks out there, it's Ted and you're watching TedTv. Welcome back. The reserve currency has held for many years, and now there's countries like, say, China, for example, and Russia. I mean, Russia's extremely irritated, extremely agitated or pissed off at the United States of America because we've manipulated oil prices, and oil prices have collapsed, and it's almost decimated Russia's economy. And Vladimir Putin is just burning mad at the United States, and he would like to do something to get us back. He's one of the main countries that's boycotting the U.S. dollar, and now there's other countries, China and probably the BRICS countries, are the most interested in collapsing the U.S. dollar and forming a new world reserve currency. The gold-backed yuan from China would probably be the most likely candidate for a new world reserve currency after ours is dethroned. So I mean, China alone is holding well over $1 trillion of our U.S. treasuries. So if they got mad at us, they could dump those treasuries on the world market, and then if they did, well, everybody else would dump their U.S. treasuries too, and that would cause an almost instant collapse of the U.S. dollar. I mean, that's conceivable that China could get really pissed off at us and do that, or Russia could do that. So what we're going to have is a new currency, but in order for that to happen, ours has got to collapse. So something's going to happen soon. I noticed that in the 70s, I believe it was 1973, when the U.S. World Reserve Currency also became the petroleum dollar. The petrodollar was born in 1973, and it was basically an agreement between the Saudi royals and the Nixon administration. He drew up this agreement that the Saudis agreed to it, and the Shah of Iran at that time. The Shah of Iran was a monarch, and he was a U.S. puppet government, and he was highly in favor of forming this petroleum dollar also. But basically, it's said that the Saudi royals and the Nixon administration, they said that, well, they'd do an agreement that they'd price their oil in dollars, and all oil around the world must be priced in dollars. That was the new standard. Your oil must be priced in dollars, and in order to do that, you must have reserves of U.S. dollars in your banks, in your coffers. You must have those reserves. The world is fed up with this. I mean, we're printing trillions and trillions of new dollars every year, and backed by nothing. It's just backed by nothing. It's just some numbers or some bills printed, and there's some numbers digitally placed in the bank accounts, and I mean, we don't have any gold to back it up. There's nothing to back up the dollar. I mean, the dollar was just faith and credit, and basically there's nothing to hold it up. There's nothing behind it. So in reality, folks, in reality, it really has, even right now, in reality, has zero value. I mean, back then, if you took the benchmark as the dollar was 100 cents in 1913, well, right now, if you look at that, dollars were 2 cents right now in 2015, 2 cents as compared to 100 cents in 1913. So that's but basically 1% inflation every year. So we've lost that credibility. So I mean, people are the country's just had enough of this bullshit in the United States, printing money out of thin air and just squandering money, and it's not respected around the world. But if they decide to do that, like say Russia did that, or China dumped all their U.S. treasuries, or Russia did, and the United States is, they're really, really arrogant people. Arrogant, not the people, but the government is very conceited, very arrogant, and they will, go to war. Whoever tries to dethrone this dollar will go to war. We could be World War III with Russia, China in a matter of months, because if you notice, every time a government or a president tried to get off this damn petroleum dollar and sell his oil in his own dollars and trade with other countries in their dollars, guess what? We went in there militarily and destroyed them, like Saddam Hussein's Iraq. The real reason we went in there is because he wanted to get off the US dollar and sell his oil in his own currency, in dinars. So guess what? We went in there, took him out. Same thing with Muammar Gaddafi. He wanted to sell his oil, petroleum, in his own currency. He wanted off the US dollar standard. Guess what? We went in there and took him out. It goes on and on and on and on. We go in there and just wipe out the country and the president that decides to go off the US petrodollar standard. We're going to have a dollar collapse as soon as October of this year. October of this year, we could have a US dollar collapse, U.S. bond market collapse, a U.S. stock market collapse, a U.S. housing market collapse, plus go to war, World War III. All this is imminent now, an imminent collapse economically. Look at yourself, folks. You got to look at yourself and ponder this thought. Seriously, ponder it. Wake up tomorrow morning and ponder it again. Think about it. And wake up the next morning and think about it again and again. Because it's your assets, your money. Do you want to sit back and lose 90% of the value of your assets? If you've got a lot of assets, a lot of money tied up in US dollar denominated investments, then guess what? You're going to lose probably 90% of the value when this dollar collapses. I'm talking about dollar denominated assets. Stocks, bonds, pension funds, money market funds, mutual funds, deposits, savings accounts, checking accounts. Folks, your money after this dollar collapse, you'll probably lose about 90% of its value, and in a few days. So you want to just sit back and have your fucking assets just wiped out? Maybe you've worked 30 years, 20 years to build up assets, and certainly your 401ks, it'd be all worthless, all of it. So the strategy here would be, it would be prudent to buy. Gold and silver is being manipulated on the world markets by the Illuminati, crooked bankers. They're driving the price down into the ground, and this gold and silver is so cheap now. Especially silver, it's so cheap, $15 an ounce. They can't even get it out of the ground for $15 an ounce. It costs them about $16 to $20 an ounce, the mining cost to get it out of the ground. So silver is so dirt cheap right now. I would advise you now to start getting your money. You only got a month or two to do this. Get your money out of these US dollar denominated assets and put a lot of it into silver coins, gold coins. Because, like I said, when the dollar goes to zero, you will always have rock solid value in gold, silver coins. You could convert it to any currency later on. But gold and silver coins would be a prudent move right now. And I've mentioned that in my one of my early shows last spring, about accumulating silver coins, not rare coins, not numismatic coins. Silver bullion coins, Canadian maple leaves, U.S. eagles, etc., etc. U.S. Silver rounds. If you can't afford gold, gold's about $1,195 an ounce. If you can't afford gold, then accumulate silver. It's only $15 an ounce. Anybody can pretty much buy a few ounces of silver. The more you buy, the better. Buy 100 ounces. Buy 1,000 ounces. you're gonna have to have that stuff to barter with too. You know, when this currency collapses. So that's what I want to get through to you today. That's the first part of my series, destruction of the U.S. And I think the U.S. dollar destruction, U.S. dollar collapse, is one of the biggest parts of the collapse of the U.S. U.S. of A. It's such a social, has such social implications and economic implications. So that's all I got to say. That's all I got for this week. And you know, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in and subscribing. Be vigilant. Look for the signs. Don't let anybody deceive you. Okay, and yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks or so in the next part 2 of the series.